Welcome to Magny Cours for the second round of the 2022 Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. After a scintillating pair of races at the opening round at Brands Hatch, the drivers should enjoy the extra space in which to go racing this weekend at this former home of the French GP, with greater scope for overtaking, especially into the Adelaide hairpin, where intense race action has always been a feature. Audi and Mercedes shared the honours in 2021. Second-generation French racer Aurélien Panis was frustrated at Brands Hatch when a slow pit stop cost him and teammate Patrick Niederhauser a top result. And the Santalok team will be looking to make amends on home ground.
It's always nice to be at home. I just love this track, to be honest. It's one of my favorites. So I hope we'll be on the pace, on the front. We'll see tomorrow, but everything looks okay. We start well the season in Brands Hatch. Also, we follow Santalok team, so I'm looking forward for the first quali tomorrow and for the races, because I think we can be strong, and I hope we'll be at the top.
Fanatec GT World Challenge Sprint champions for the past 2 years, the all-Belgian pairing of Dries van Toor and Charles Weerts racked up a pair of second places in round one. But this, along with their winning form in the opening endurance round, is enough to make them combined European series leaders.
We know that Brands Hatch is a good circuit for the Mercedes, and in Magny Cours it's, I would say, a bit more even. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a bit more chance to fight with them instead of being on the back foot. But yeah, as you said, Brands Hatch, even though we were not the quickest, we could still manage to do 2 times second, which is super good for the championship. I think we were P1 and P2 here last year, so let's try to be double P1 this year.
French racer Jim Pla shared his Acodis ASP Mercedes with compatriot Jules Gounon at Brands Hatch, but Gounon is away on Intercontinental GT Challenge duty at Bathurst this weekend, so his place is taken by experienced Maximilian Goertz, who was Sprint Series champion as long ago as 2014.
We are quite confident. We had a good weekend in Brands Hatch with Jules. As you see, I have a new teammate for this event, Maxi. It's the first time that I met him. Really cool guy, really easy to work with. So yeah, we are quite confident. We did pre-practice this morning. We struggled a bit with the setup, but we are working on it, and I think we will do a good job this weekend.
Third place and then a dominant win in the second race at Brands Hatch put the long-standing partnership of Raffaele Marciello and Timo Bogusławski into the points lead after the first of the season's 5 sprint rounds, with Marciello looking to repeat his peerless form here in France.
The season is still long. For sure we start quite well in Brands Hatch. We start well also this morning here in Magny Cours. The car is great. Timo is doing really good. So I mean, the expectations are quite high, but for sure there is the car of Dries and Charles is quite strong. There is the car of Jim, is quite strong. So it will be tough, but we try our best. It's not an easy track. It's quite grippy, but it's easy to lose the grip. So it's quite challenging some parts. The gravity is quite close, like in T3. So for sure it's not easy for some people.
Surprise winners of the first of the races at Brands Hatch, giving Ferrari its first Sprint Cup win since 2015. This Silver Cup pairing of Ulysses Depot and Pierre-Alexandre Jean is clearly heading for great things.
You know, it was a surprise also for us. We were feeling ready before the start of the championship. We construct the season correctly with 5 Corsair, working good with the engineers, with the mechanic. Now we have to keep our head down, keep working, and yeah, I hope it will be a nice weekend also on my home soil. They have a lot of sponsors and friends coming tomorrow, so I hope to be good tomorrow in front of them.
Sky Tempesta Racing has changed this year from racing a Ferrari to a Mercedes. Eddie Cheever III and his teammate Chris Froggatt are learning as they go in their pursuit of championship honours in the Silver Cup here at Magny Cours.
Well, hopefully it's going to be better this weekend. We are really struggling still with performance. So yeah, let's hope it's going to be a bit better this weekend. I can't wait to drive it again in pre-quali. Fingers crossed that we fix a few problems. I'm confident the team is giving the maximum they can to give us a better car, and we have to just perform better on track.
The Austrian-Polish partnership of Christian Kleen and Patrick Krupinski enjoyed a great start to their campaign at the opening round when they guided their JP Motorsport McLaren to victory in the Pro-Am class in the second of the 2 races at Brands Hatch.
It was good as well. It's been a long time for me to be back here in Magny Cours, but it's a great track. It's really nice and flowing, especially in a GT3 car. And I mean, we had a good start of the season in Pro-Am and Brands Hatch, and we would like to continue that. I think we have a good car. It's a good base. I mean, all the cars are very leveled out in the SRO categories, so you know, one track works a bit better for one brand, the other track is better for the other brand, but all in all, it's all close together. It's still the team and the drivers can make the differences, and that's why I also like the championship.
So let's explain how the Sprint Cup works. There are 5 rounds of the Fanatec GT Sprint Series this season, with a pair of races at each. Each of these lasts an hour apiece, and each car is shared by 2 drivers who swap over in the mandatory pit stop that must be made in the pit stop window between 25 and 35 minutes into the race. As well as the drivers, all 4 tyres must be changed, and vitally, there is no minimum pit stop time, so a well-drilled crew can really help its drivers gain time and perhaps even a position or 2. All the cars are run to GT3 regulations, with the field divided into 3 classes by driver grading. The Pro class is packed with manufacturer-backed drivers, and race winners are most likely to come from here. The Silver Cup is for younger, up-and-coming drivers with less experience. And then there's Pro-Am, which is just that, an amateur driver partnered with a pro. The opening round of the Fanatec GT Sprint Series at Brands Hatch was contested by 26 cars and the 6 leading GT brands, and that same heady mix of machinery and manufacturers will be gunning for glory at Magny Cours, with Audi, Porsche, McLaren and Lamborghini looking to join Ferrari and Mercedes as winners. So, looking at the manufacturers table, it's Audi leading the way from Mercedes, with Porsche in 3rd position. It's been a fantastic day weather-wise at Magny Cours, an agenda packed with racing. It's early summer in so many ways. It's been in the mid-20s in terms of degrees, and track temperature has been a really high factor. And of course, the air is starting to cool, but it's been a warm day, John Watson.
It's been a glorious day all round, 24.6, ambient 24.3, so all the 24s basically. And perfect weather to go into this early evening race here at Magny Cours.
Yeah, the race kicking off at 7:30 local time. As you can see, the light is still very bright, but this is a great circuit, and John, a Grand Prix circuit no less, Magny Cours.
Made up as a 4.4 kilometre circuit, 2.7 miles. All the corners are given names rather than corner numbers. Now, teams will still operate on a corner number basis, but I love having a corner called Grand Cours, first turn after the start-finish line. Estoril, that long right-hand corner, running all the way down to Adelaide Hairpin at the far end of the circuit. Then back through that very quick right-left at Nürburgring into the 180-degree, then back up the hill, going through the very difficult zone, up through Imola, then up to Château-d'Eau, and there you drop downhill all the way down to Virage du Lycée, and then it's across the start-finish line. Where's it all gone?
It'll go very quickly indeed, and you can be sure at that Adelaide hairpin there will be overtaking. But right now, the sun, a bit of shadow cast by the pit building on the start-finish straight, and there, number 30, Team WRT Audi, that's going to be kicked off by Benjamin Goethe. There he is down middle order. We came here with 25 cars. Unfortunately, we lost the Jota Sport McLaren yesterday. Ollie Wilkinson got it off the circuit at the exit of Estoril, that long right-hander. And the damage too bad to continue. But fans in the grandstand, so many, John, wearing shirts supporting 46, the Doctor, Valentino Rossi, but it didn't all go right for him in qualifying.
Sadly, he had a big off in going through Grand Cours into Estoril, and hopefully we're going to be able to bring you the images that we saw earlier in the day when Valentino just lost control. The back of the car, it snapped very quickly. He was going through the left-hand part of Grand Cours, just about to transit into the right-hander at Estoril.
Well, we've heard about it from John, but let's take a look at the replay of where it went wrong at Grand Cours for Valentino. Riding on board, John.
So he just come out of Grand Curve and into Estoril, and all of a sudden the back very quickly snapped away.
Let's go down to Valentino on the grid.
Vale, great to see you once again. Another new track for you, another new challenge. We saw you pushing very hard in qualifying earlier.
Yes, a little bit too much, unfortunately, because I did a mistake. Because the first part is very demanding, is very fast, so I touched a little bit too much the curb, and unfortunately we have to start quite last. I think that our potential is a little bit better, so I need to try to make a good start and try to see if I have enough pace for make some overtaking.
Well, we've certainly seen your pace improving as the season's gone on, but here you've got another challenge as well with the sun. We're coming into the sundown time, and that's a real challenge for drivers in visual terms.
Very difficult also that, because sometimes you have a problem with the sun in your face, but also the sun on the asphalt. So for me, yesterday evening was very difficult to understand where is the car, if you are on the curb, if you are on the grass, you don't know. I think that we need some experience. We did some modify the helmet for try to avoid this, and we see.
Well, enjoy. This is all good preparation for Spa 24. Thank you, Vale.
Well, good to see. Vale still smiling. Now, not only will Vale start down in 22nd out of the 24 cars, but unfortunately there was tyre damage, and you are allowed, John, one new tyre, but they wanted to change all four, and that has led to the team being hit with a 10-second extra at the standstill in the pit stop. That's really going to be a lot to fight back from.
Yes, it is. Of course, by benefiting from a brand new set of Pirelli rubber, he does have an advantage over those around him, assuming that those around him are not going to be starting on new rubber. Nevertheless, starting quite so far back for Valentino, he's going to be caught at the tail end of a massive traffic jam on the opening, maybe 2 or 3 laps. And he needs to be on his toes to make sure that he knows where he is precisely. He will have that maybe advantage on those new set of tyres, but once he get into 4 or 5 or 6 laps, then that advantage will plateau out. But of course, when he makes the pit stop to do the driver change and wheel and tyre change, they will have to sit for an additional 10 seconds. You might as well say 10 years. It'll feel as long as that.
It certainly will, and also having seen what happened at Brands Hatch, the whole technique of a pit stop is something that still Valentino is learning in these circumstances. But I hear that Team WRT have multicoloured pit stops, so they're the lollipops for their pit crews. So each of the cars will have a day glow colour to aim for. Hopefully he remembers which is the correct one for him, for the 46 crew, for him and his teammate Fred Vervisch, who will be taking over.
Well, there's a busy pit lane at Magny Cours. It's not a very long pit lane, so it's tight to get in. And you have to be able to identify your pit as you come down the pit lane. So WRT have done a very sensible thing. I'm surprised teams haven't chosen to do it, especially those that run more than one car, the multiple teams. So where your driver, as an inexperienced driver Valentino was, coming into the pits at Imola, he couldn't see where he was due to turn in. He also made a slight error in that he came into the pits, he sort of released the seat belt buckle. He didn't undo the buckle, released the belts, and then when he was going down the pit lane, having missed his slot, he then took both hands off the steering wheel to tighten down the shoulder straps, and he got a little reprimand for that, and the way he described it wouldn't be appropriate on television.
I made a mistake, I believe is the abbreviated term. But look, really, really busy on the grid at Magny Cours. The grandstand will fill up just before the start of the race. It's been a fantastic day. I mean, cars have been on track since about 9 o'clock this morning and will go on until just before 11 o'clock at night. And this isn't part of a France where a whole lot happens, so the crowds are huge and the paddock's been heaving, John.
Certainly the paddock has been, I've never seen a paddock as busy here as it's been this weekend. And a great deal of the reason for that is very much down to the presence of Valentino Rossi and what he is bringing to the interest in this championship. Otherwise, people like Simon Gachet, who put that car on pole position along with his teammate Christopher Haase, they're here to do a strong job. And look, alongside him is the 32 of Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor. They're both members of the Audi family, but from different sort of branches of the family. So is Santalok going to be generous to WRT, or are they going to say, WRT, suck my fumes?
Well, it's certainly very much an Audi grid. The top 3 runners all in Audis. Then let's go down. And Gemma is on the grid, and with Pierre-Alexandre Jean, a winner at Brands Hatch, he's the leading Ferrari driver, starting 5th.
Pierre, qualifying was really exciting to watch, actually. It was Audi domination, and then all of a sudden the Ferrari pops up. You know, you guys are on fire this year.
Yeah, and the car was kind of a mess, especially on the second set of tires. Fortunately, red flag because of armor on track, so this is a bit crazy. But because of this, my tire temp went down, so it was not easy in the first push lap. But happy about my last lap, and yeah, as you said, to be in the middle of the Audis was quite nice. So happy about quali, and I think we can build a solid race from here.
Well, so far you're the fastest non-Audi in this race.
Yeah, true. At the end of the race, will be better to be in front of the Audi, and then we'll be happy. But ready for the race. Normally, the Ferrari is a very good car and consistency, so we are quite confident.
Thank you very much. Have a great race.
Thank you.
So good to see. What a young pairing. Pierre-Alexandre is only 21. His teammate Ulysses Depot is just 20. Already winners, and I said they were 5th on the grid. I meant 4th. They're line astern behind this car, 2nd place. 2nd place would excite most crews, but for Charviets, who set that 2nd fastest time, don't know what the satisfaction, but Dries Van Tor faced like thunder when they were deprived of pole position. Of course, there were 2 red flags during that 20-minute session, and they were in front, but right at the end, brilliant lap from Simon Gachet. All smiles from his teammate Christopher Haase. But it's a busy old place down on the grid. Now let's go down to hear from Thomas Drouet's teammate. Starting 5th on the grid will be Thomas, but his teammate, the British racer, is Casper Stevenson.
Casper, throughout the weekend people have been talking about Audi domination, but the Mercedes here is looking fast, and you're alongside your teammates as well.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas did a great quali, so I think we should be good in the race. The Audis do look strong, but it's just it's nothing to be worried about, and I think he'll do a good start, and then I can't wait to get in. And yeah, I hope to have a good result, top 5 overall, and see where we are in silver.
And in terms of the circuit here, it's one that you enjoy. The chicanes are real quick, and the use of curbs there is quite something.
Yeah, it's a really nice track. It's kind of a bit like Brands, like fast, and it was my first time here this year, and I like it, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we were looking for the corner called Brands, we couldn't find it, obviously. Have a great race.
Thank you.
So there we were talking about Pierre-Alexandre Jean being young at 21, but to go 2 years younger, Casper Stevenson just turned 19, his first season in GT cars, and learning fast, and his teammate Thomas Drouet did a fantastic job. Be the top Mercedes driver, that's quite something.
It was a good qualifying for that team, and of course, I mean, starting where they are on the 6th grid position, they're on the right-hand side going into turn 1, which is Grand Curb. There is a significant advantage, in my view, for those cars that will start on the left-hand side of the start-finish line going into turn 1. And if you can get your nose into that corner, in that case, Simon Gachet, and prevent Charles Verts from going around the long way, that gives you a big advantage when you transfer back to the right to go through Estoril and then onto the long straight down to Adelaide.
Well, what's right for one isn't always right for the other. But let's go down to the driver who's going to start from pole position. His name is Simon Gachet.
Simon, that was a very impressive last-minute dash in qualifying this morning.
Yeah, I'm so happy, honestly. The car was really good at the end of my first outing with the 2nd set of new tires. And I just would like to thank Trésor by Car Collection for this answer car. And now we need to win the race to be very happy. Let's see.
And of course, for a French driver being here at a home circuit with so many people, this is quite a lovely atmosphere down here on the grid.
Yeah, honestly, it's very good. The public is back now, so after the COVID is cool. And after I have the GT4, we'll be at the same place, so I'm quite happy. It's a good day.
Have a great race. Thank you very much.
Well, in my excitement, talking about Simon Gachet, I failed to mention that this is the Trésor by Car Collection Audi team that he is driving in, so they will be over the moon and look forward, because the control of the start of the race will be with that car number 11. And as I say, it's critical to get the nose into the left-hand Grand Curb ahead of all others. But look, those on the outside, and going into that, you've got Charles Verts, George Mears, and then Pierre-Alexandre Paul. They are going to be all over those cars on the left-hand side.
It could be a world of diminishing returns, but let's hear from the driver who's about to kick off the car from the outside of the front row, Charviets for WRT.
Charles looking cool and calm as ever. Front row, it wasn't quite the finish to qualifying that you had, having dominated the session, but it was very disruptive.
Yeah, indeed, as you said, it was, 2nd is always a good position, but Yeah, the first part was really good, and I was expecting to improve. And yeah, unfortunately we had the red flag, and then 2 times yellow flag in my 2 free laps, so I couldn't improve. But yeah, it's like it is. Second, as I said, is still a good position to start, and we just need to score good points, and hopefully that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely, and then we'll see Drew smiling again later on.
Hopefully, it's not easy to make him smile.
Thank you, have a great race.
Well, very phlegmatic there, but when you've got a session that's only 20 minutes, John, and it's twice interrupted by red flags, it really left that scramble at the end, and all very, very close. In fact, the fastest 15 drivers covered by 0.8 of a second. It was a blink of an eye in success and failure. And we did have some people qualifying down the order. Matteo Drudi was right at the front for ages, and he ended up down in 13th position.
Well, I think what happened was those red flags interrupted the strategy that teams had pre-planned. So you do what you can do, knowing let's have a 20-minute session without interruptions, and we will be in a different position than those that find themselves getting caught out when the red flags. The second red flag was for a rather unusual incident. We discovered a substantial hammer lying on the racetrack. How it got there, I do not know, but it was on the run up towards Imola, up into the Chateau d'Eau, the highest part of this Magny Cours racetrack, and a marshal had to run out, lift it up, but it meant that second red flag had to be instantly put on track.
Right, 3 minutes to go, so the grid is being cleared. A chance to see the cars. 24 here. Unfortunately, we lost the Jota McLaren, otherwise it would have been 25. Now running in the Silver Cup, Eddie Cheever and Sky Tempesta Racing, his teammate Chris Froggatt. For the last couple of years, they've been together with Sky Tempesta Racing, but with a Ferrari, and they're getting to learn about the Mercedes. It handles in a different way, but it must be said when you look at the qualifying sheets here, the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2 appears to be the one to have. The top 3 positions on the grid and many others before you get down to the back of the 5th row. But let's see how it unfolds. But as John's been explaining, Grand Cours, where the track turns to the left, it's a 2-part corner because effectively you're almost turning immediately into Estoril, which goes on and on. Get a good exit from there, and many people don't even get to the exit. They run through the gravel, and then you can have a fabulous run up the hill in slipstreaming form to try and take a move into the Adelaide hairpin.
Well, just watch. There we're looking from Grand Cours back to the starting grid. And there will be some cars that will run wide on the entry into that corner. Offline, it is dirty, and that will just drag them into the gravel. They will bounce and plough their way through the gravel, hopefully get back onto the racetrack without taking half the gravel bed with them. And then what happened to Valentino Rossi? He said he caught the curb on that entry into Grand Cours, and as soon as he went to turn right, the car just snapped into an oversteer. So lots of action can take place within, 5 seconds of this race getting underway.
Absolutely so, and just bear in mind that where the drivers are going to have the sun fully in their face is coming up the hill to the Adelaide hairpin, and then again when they've gone down to 180, coming back up the slope again to Chateau d'Eau, and also most importantly as they try and turn into that Imola right-left, which is a really, really tricky S as they crest the hill. But for the experienced hands, they know it's an hour of racing. There's that mandatory pit stop between 25 and 35 minutes. It's about getting everything right and not picking up any further penalties along the way. And just to remind you, not only is Valentino Rossi starting back in 22nd position out of 24, but when he changes over in the pit stops to Fred Verviche, they will have to stay static for a further 10 seconds. So they've got a big ask. It looks so any result they'll get this weekend is going to be in tomorrow's race. This is the evening race, starting at 7:30 local time. And that's just over 5 minutes from now. So the cars will go around on their formation lap. And one of the beauties, John, about the Magny Cours circuit, there is space to overtake.
Yes, favourite place to make your overtaking attempt would be into the Adelaide hairpin. But of course, it's relatively easily defended. But if you're over-aggressive in your defence, then that could lead to a penalty. Other parts of the racetrack you can pass, well, the quick and the brave will try and do it into the 180, which is the corner, the tight corner in the middle of the layout of this Magny Cours racetrack. Not many other options. You can, if you get through the Imola chicane on the run up to Chateau d'Eau, if a driver makes an error, then you can slip up the inside, or you might even take the long way around. And that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, having looked at some of the support races, notably the Renault Clio race, of course, vastly different performances. They've got more places they can overtake. But if you're on a good line and got a good flow, you can defend pretty effectively around here. But the races at Magny Cours have always been exciting. And for Fanatec GT this year, I have no reason to think it won't be anything other. There we are at the back of the grid. We don't see too much of that. That's the GSM Nova Marine Lamborghini, the only Huracan in this year's series, and that's started by Austrian racer Gerhard Therese. Here's the grid. Inside of the front row, pole position for Simon Gachet in an Audi. Charles Wirtz alongside in an Audi. There's a trend here. The leading Silver Cup runner, Gilles Magnus, in an Audi. Then Pierre-Alexandre Jean, already an outright winner, in a Ferrari. There's the difference. Thomas Drouet, fastest Mercedes racer, ahead of Timo Bogoslawski. He's already got a win in the bag at Brands Hatch. Aurélien Panis looking for good results at home, another Audi driver. Nicolas Scholl also in an Audi. You can see how good the car is. Ninth position, Jean-Baptiste Simonauer in an Audi. Then Jim Pla, look for fireworks from him. He's in a Mercedes. Eddie Cheever, now in a Mercedes this year, went well at the end of qualifying, picked up the pace. Maybe they are finding the form. Peter Schotthorst in the second of the attempt to Audi starts 12th. Then Matthias Drudy, look for a charge from him in Audi number 12. Adrian de Linear, the better of the two Porsche drivers from Dynamic. Then Benjamin Goethe, another car Audi from Team WRT. And Manuel Maldonado, the best of the McLarens from Garage 59. Then comes Petru Umberescu in another ASP Mercedes. Giorgio Roda, the second of the Dynamic Porsches. Miguel Ramos in a Garage 59 McLaren alongside Patrick Krupinski, Polish racer, the JP Motorsport McLaren, and Ugo Delacour, AF Corsa Ferrari, alongside Valentino Rossi. Don't forget he's got that penalty too. And then Louis Michels, Pro-Am Ferrari from AF Corsa, and Gerhard Therese, the GSM Nova Marine Lamborghini driver. 24 is the number of cars. 60 minutes is the number of minutes. And how is it going to pan out? It's Audis at the front, John, but that first combination, Grand Corbe and Estoril, always sorts out some of the order.
Well, let's hope that the field doesn't try to win this race in the first two corners, because it's often the case we see in Magny Cours. They all get a bit ambitious. They all think they can make a dive either up the inside or around the outside, and those two opening corners are often problematic.
They certainly are. Often you have to try and pick out the cars as they emerge from the dust from anybody who's run wide. Let's hope, fingers crossed, all is good. So coming towards the end of the formation lap, and they have to get into that 2x2 formation. And don't forget, the end of the lap, the Virage du Lycée, is a very tight right-hander, followed within the space of about another 50 metres by a right-left flicked onto the start-finish straight. So the field have to do what they have to do, which is get side by side behind the Audi safety car. Don't they look great in the evening light? Certainly different prospect from the middle of the day. So pole position, it's Trésor by Car Collection, the number 11 Audi from Simon Gachet alongside Charles Wirtz. He's won many, many races, 2 years running, being a Sprint Cup champion. But now all set for the latest chapter in Fanatec GT racing action. Field need to close up a bit more, but the front 2-3 rows very close indeed. Of course, all eyes will be on the lights on the starting gantry. They're red, and as soon as they flick out, the throttle can be floored and away before it's gone red. To my eye went the pole man.
Oh, did he ever go? He went about 4 seconds before those lights went out, and whether that will be deemed to be a jump start, certainly he gained an advantage.
Well, Charles Wirtz has lost out, so Gilles Magnus also made a pounce, number 26.
Contact. I thought there was sideways Audi just coming through the early part, but seemed to get it straightened up.
I was about to have the intake of breath. So Charles Wirtz been riding on board with him down to third position. Of course, we'll get a message soon saying the start is under investigation. That is standard practice. Through the kink, up the straight they go to the top of the hill, to the Adelaide hairpin for the first time, and looking very busy is Timo Bogoslawski trying to go inside the sister Audi, but 87 Thomas Drouet keeps his nose in front, kicking up the dust on the exit of Adelaide. Down the slope they go, little curve there, but not much to be far beyond. But then we get to the Nürburgring S. Look at that, they'll be bouncing over the curves. Fantastic.
Well, Simon Gachet did what he needed to do, but he just did it too early. He went, everybody else was flat-footed, and he was up and gone. So I will be interested to see what the clerk of the course, race director, will say when he reviews that, because clearly it gave Simon Gachet a massive advantage in the number 11 Trésor by Car Collection Audi.
Right, the person who has made a gain is Timo Bogoslawski, has gone ahead of Akodis ASP teammate Thomas Drouet, so he is up into 5th place. So his teammate Raffaele Marcello going, well done Timo, keep on going, but keep it clean, keep it tidy. First 4 starting to make the escape. Simon Gachet from Gilles Magnus, Charles Wirtz and Pierre-Alexandre Jean trying to hang on. 99 braking heavily towards the end of the lap, and that's a nice tidy entry there from Nicolas Scholl. It's busy. Just checking any wave yellow flags, no, but at the end of the first lap it's about a second. 1.039 is the margin of a second between Simon Gachet and Gilles Magnus. Charles Wirtz still in third, Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Now it's getting a little bit line astern. How hard have people pushed? We did think at this point, at Estoril on the opening lap, there was a bit of a contact, but which cars do you think were the ones doing the rubbing, John?
I think it was the 99 attempt, or I think it may have been very lightly tagged. It just appeared to snap very quickly, but kept going in the right direction. On board with Timo Berger-Slawski looking behind him. He's got Thomas Drouet in the 87 Mercedes. So Berger-Slawski has made up that one position on the opening lap.
Again, looking backward from that car, you can see the drivers all running a little bit wide on the exit of the Adelaide hairpin. Down the slope they come, at least at this point as they go downhill, the sun is not in their eyes. And it's all potential place change. Number 30 pushing hard there, that's Benjamin Goethe. You can stick your nose alongside, but you have to pull it back by the time you get to the Nürburgring S.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult part of the racetrack. It just literally is a one line through that right-left, and if you're going to go side by side, you want to be certain that you're fully alongside the car that you're attempting to move on. Otherwise, it'll end up in contact.
Certainly will. Looking to see Valet has gained the position. He's up to 21st, a long way for him to go. Plus, that's that time penalty at the pit stop. Who's also making moves? Well, I expected this. Battaya Drudy's gained 2 places. His sister car, though, is number 11. That's the one leading the race. 1.039 seconds clear at the end of the opening lap. Looks as though he's gained another 10th or 2. And certainly Gilles Magnus will be frustrating Charles Wirtz, and Charles is going to have to choose his moment. We know WRT are very good on the pit stops. Right, 0.4 of a second was gained by the race leader. So it may well be, if he's got a possible time penalty coming, if he was deemed to have transgressed at the start, he's got to build a bigger buffer as he possibly can.
Yes, I mean, he's using the clear track. No interference from the aero wash from other cars around him. So he's making his escape on just under 1.5 seconds. Clear of Magnus in the second place, Audi. Charles Wirtz stuck in 3rd place, and that is not part of the plan. He had hoped to get himself ahead of Gachet into turn 1, but it didn't work out, and Magnus got himself around. So Wirtz, not an awful lot he is seemingly able to do right now. He's got another, what, roughly 20-odd minutes before the pit stop window might be beginning to be an option, and it's in those pit stops that we know WRT can win races.
Right, looking forward from Valentino Rossi's Team WRT Audi, number 46, of course. He's not catching the... In fact, he's now got his right alongside the McLaren. We had they must have been side by side because we were looking at the track, but Patrick Kropinski keeps that number 111. JP Motorsport McLaren in front. It looks great, but not to Valet. It just looks like a target to him.
Remember, Rossi is on a new set of Pirellis. I don't know how many others will have started on a new set of Pirellis. So that gives the Audi a little bit of an advantage, but once we get into 5 or 8 laps, then that will taper off. So if you can't find a way around the McLaren now, and he's looking up the inside and blocked. I mean, that was a pretty blatant block by Kropinski, but Rossi has done the switch back, gotten ahead of the McLaren, but they're going to go down the hill side by side. And McLaren has edged its nose back into the front as they get down into the braking zone to come down into Virage du Lycée.
Well, there's going to be contact, and there it is, because come what may, Valentino was going down the inside, almost contact to the exit onto the start-finish straight, and the Ferrari behind is going to gain on the pair of them. That's Hugo Delacour.
That type of blocking, contact with the Ferrari to deliberately stop it, trying to find a way past, all because of what took place going into the Virage du Lycée when Rossi and the McLaren were a little bit untidy, and that gave the Ferrari the run. So again, lots of things to be observed.
Well, look, he came from quite a long way back, but Kropinski left the door open, but then he has to close it because he's got to get around the corner. So there's contact there. He comes back onto the track, nearly hits the back of Valet's car, and then, of course, he gets very close indeed to the front.
On board with Rossi, so he moves down. You can see the contact that occurred. Now, there's nothing deliberate in it, but that's what happens. So in the meantime, the Ferrari was given a hip and shoulder as it came across start-finish straight, and in the meantime, the gap between first and second has further extended up to 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, another 0.2 of a second, looking imperious at the front from Simon Gachet. He knows this circuit, he loves this circuit, he's won at this circuit before. And what he wants to do, what he's already done, is break the toe. Gilles Magnus cannot get in his toe. He's got to look behind him. He's got just over 1/3 of a second advantage over Charles Wirtz. The previous lap, coming out of Estoril, Charles made a slight mistake, got the car rattled over the curbs and just couldn't put the power down as he wanted to. He's now regained the time he's lost, and he's got to really sort out Gilles Magnus in the next lap or so to get in close to the race leader.
Well, Pierre-Alexandre Jean and the Ferrari in 4th place is about 7/10 of a second behind the 3rd place Audi. Wirtz doesn't really want to have to divide his attention between making a charge on Magnus and having maybe a defensive move coming from the Ferrari behind.
We've been talking about the start of the race, and certainly as the cars flashed in this replay over the start-finish line, it was advantage to the pole starter, Simon Gachet. But take a look at it from head-on, John.
Look, he's gone. We had the lights, we saw the lights. He was gone when all the lights were red, and everybody behind, except Magnus, who sort of went with Gachet. So whether there's going to be any action taken or not, it will be considered, and no doubt we'll get notifications in due course.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye and see if we get any official notifications, but that was certainly a positive start, and Gilles Magnus also benefited. And then looking at the replay, you can see the long way around the outside is somewhere you don't want to be in SRO, because then there's a giant gravel track. Now, looking from on board, this is Charles Weerts, and that is home and hose for he didn't lose the lead, but he lost second place before then he got to Grand Cours. That is indicative of people starting at a very, very different pace, or more to the point, starting at a different time to each other.
Well, I think Charles Weerts did the right thing and didn't go until he felt that was the right time to go, whereas the number 11 Audi anticipated the lights going out. And we saw it from a different perspective than that of the drivers. So whether there was a difference in what the driver saw at the point he nailed it to what we would have seen from our camera looking from Grand Cours to the lights on the gantry, from what I saw, it looked like he jumped it. And others might, I think, concur with that.
May well do, but come what may, you can see there's a clear space between our race leader. Last time it was 1.474. It's come down by 1/10 of a second. So Gilles Magnus, even though he's been pressured very hard indeed by Charles Weerts in third place, is closing on the race leader. How's Valentino Rossi doing? He's up to 20th position, but his sweet time on the fresh rubber, the fresh set of tyres that he had, it's going to cost him extra 10 seconds at his pit stop on a standstill ball. Fred Vervisch can recover, but it's possibly going already with 5 laps on the board out of the sweet spot on those tyres, John. He's gained 2 positions, but they were hard fought.
Yes, he had to find a way around. It wasn't a given that he was going to get around other cars. But again, you could see coming into that penultimate corner that he was running. Oh, who's that? The Porsche has spun. Or that the exit of Estoril?
I think that's Adrian Canna, but it was 18th. That was Giorgio Roda, the second place of those dynamic Porsches. They just haven't got the form with those cars this year, but in previous years, the Porsche has been fantastic in GT3 racing, but for Dynamic Motorsport, they're going to have to scratch their heads and work out a better setup. And Giorgio Roda, round he went. He was 18th. Well, I guess that's given a position to Valentino Rossi. Now, let's take a look at the top speed at going into the Imola sweepers. And it's hardly surprising it's the Audis at the top that have been really imperious. But Charles Weerts in third place is fastest overall, 172.
But interesting, Valentino Rossi is second, a joint second quickest, but that's the benefit he has had with those brand new set of Pirelli tyres.
Exactly so, and interesting that Petro Umbrescu, who's some way down the order, he's down in 17th position, is third fastest, just a whisker slower in one of the Acodis ASP Mercedes, and not the fastest of them, but clearly in a straight line up the hill. Fantastic.
Look how close Charles Weerts is getting to the back of the 26 Audi. Gilles Magnus coming down across the start-finish line into Grand Cours, and you run out to the very outside, then you make that second apex, then you've got to cut back. And when you're actually driving the racetrack, this is a much tighter corner than we're seeing it on screen. The camera tends to give a very wide angle view, but it's quite cambered, but it's a lot tighter at the apex than we're seeing from this onboard shot from Charles Weerts. The gap between Weerts and Magnus going across the line was 0.4 of a second. So second and third are beginning to concertina up. Nevertheless, the gap at the front has actually opened up. It was 1.3 back up to 1.5. And Alexandre Pierrejean in the Ferrari, he's at 1.2 seconds behind the third place Audi of Charles Weerts.
Well, they're all very, very equal, the top 4 in terms of lap times. In fact, Gilles Magnus in second place was the one that got it slightly wrong. He's a 1/10 of a second slower than the 3 cars around him, but he's still in that second place, still very, very impressive indeed. Now, riding with Pierre-Alexandre Jean, who's having a fantastic season in the Ferrari from AF Corsa, seems to be falling back a little bit, 1.2 seconds down behind. But again, for these teams, it's also, can they gain this time in a pit stop? Yes, they can. There's no minimum pit stop time, so all the crews already, the pit stops are coming. They've got to be ready, and they can have a role to play.
Well, the Ferrari was fastest overall in Sector 1. On the same lap, the Audi of Charles Weerts was fastest overall in Sector 2. We'll wait to see who comes across the line to be fastest in Sector 3. So it's ebbing and flowing at each of the 3 different sectors around the racetrack. Very important, again, coming through that very tight right-left chicane onto start-finish straight, not to be overly aggressive, because that'll unstabilize the car. But Charles Weerts clearly now in a zone where he will be thinking, where can I work to think about a move? Can't do it in this part of the racetrack. He'll maybe think about it all the way down into the Adelaide hairpin, but these 2 cars got virtually identical straight-line performance, so that sort of cancels itself out. What is left for the Belgian to find a way around the second place Audi.
Well, all along, though, the last 2 laps have been fastest lap of the race, followed by an even better fastest lap of the race from, yes, the race leader, Simon Gachet, 1.7 seconds to the good. Fastest lap of 1 minute 37.7 seconds, nowhere near as fast as qualifying. But in race pace, and probably with the new rubber to follow, that is very good indeed. But really, that start was all important. He had the advantage of having his car on the pit wall size, but he seemed to find a bit of an advantage. And then, unfortunately, now, looks though Gilles Magnussen's struggling to hold on to that second place now. Charles Weert's closing in.
Yes, Gachet is getting away. For a moment he was losing his advantage, but now he's getting away from second place, Magnus. But it's Weert in the third place 32 WRT Audi who is the challenge for that second place. But it's the same old story. You can catch, but these are identical cars. They've got identical straight line performance. And you see Dries van Thor studying TV screens in the WRT garage, and he's working out in his mind, if I was in the situation, what I would do. And I would imagine it's probably fairly similar to Charles Weert's, but maybe the experience that Dries van Thor has got, a little bit more mature in terms of his years behind the wheel, might be a little bit more threatening to the second place Gilles Magnus Audi.
Right, let's just talking about Gilles Magnussen. He's certainly short in experience compared to those around. He's just turned 22 last August, but his results at Brands Hatch, neither in the top 10, and 18th and 11th. So suddenly he's in lofty, exalted company. Can he hang on and more points in his teammate when he takes over? Can Nicolas Baer, fellow Belgian racer, also keep a car to get a top 3 finish? It's exciting for them.
While all this is going on, and down in the 10th place, we've got a Mr. Trudy Matteo, who has just set the fastest race lap. 10th place, setting fastest race laps. What is all that about? But he's got himself backed up behind Nicolas Schuler and his Audi. He's got nowhere to go. It's just like we're seeing this battle for second and third place, and all the battles that are going on down through the field.
So let's take a look at 93, middle of our screen. Eddie Cheever in 13th position. He started in 11th, so he was one of the ones who lost a couple of positions as Matteo Drudy went the other way. He went from 11th to 13th, and Drudy 13th to 11th, which has now become 10th. Setting pace like he did last time around. He could gain a place or two yet. So here's Eddie Cheever. We can't tell from the outside as we look on board how hard he's having to drive this, because they're chasing the handling on that Mercedes. It's not easy to change manufacturer for a new season, but you can be sure they're chipping away. And he's sitting quite comfortably ahead of Peter Schothorst, the young Dutch racer, in one of the 2 attempt 2 Audis. Down through the penultimate corner, Virage du Lycée, and then through the very tight little chicane onto the start-finish straight they go.
Yeah, again, there's this hop, skip and a jump over the curbings and the entry and the exit of that chicane that really does unsettle a car. And I think it's ugly to watch, but sometimes people believe it's the quickest way through. Eddie Cheever having to really balance the car a little bit of opposite lock as he transitions from one curve into Estoril. Now as he exits the corner, he can release the steering wheel, the angle on the wheel, to try and get the maximum speed off that corner that leads on to the fastest part of this Magny Cours racetrack, all the way down into the Adelaide Hill. And there is Eddie Cheever in the Mercedes, and he's got the Audi just about as close as you can get without getting into contact.
Yeah, Schothorst definitely looks like he's shaping up for a move. So what's the advantage at the front? The best part of 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds between Simon Gachet and Gilles Magnus. There on screen is Valentino Rossi, now right on the tail of Miguel Ramos in one of those 2 garage 59 McLarens. Can he make a move? But he's certainly keeping his nose clean now. He had that little bit of rubbing with Patrick Krapinski, but he's pushing hard. And there's the prime leader just in front of him. That's Ramos.
Well, he found a way around Krapinski. It was a bit of a sort of an ugly scene because they both were bumping into each other. But now he's got that little bit of clear air and he can run down Miguel Ramos in the garage 59 McLaren up the hill and through this Imola chicane. Really exciting part of the racetrack. You run wide as Rossi did there, but that's not a problem. The thing is, you've got to keep in contact here up at Chateau d'Eau as you come down the hill, and if you're close enough, you might think about making a move into Virage du Lycée, but you've got to be fully alongside the car. You can't take it, wing it down the inside and think you're going to get away with it.
Again, just looking at the concentration in Valentino's eyes. Also, you can see his eyes suddenly fully lit because, of course, straight into the sun as he goes through the chicane. Now settling down past the pits. But at the front of the race, it's Simon Gachet leading all the way. Charles Weerts suddenly picked up the pace. He fell down to 9/10 of a second down behind Gilles Magnus, then 7/10, but he's maybe kept his tyres a little sweeter than Gilles Magnus. That is experience side by side down the hill. Can he get another half car length because the track's about to go right? He's put his nose in front into second place because surely, yes, Gilles Magnus realised I've been beaten, no point fighting it at that point, or that would be 2 cars in the gravel trap.
Well, certainly on the wrong side of the racetrack to go into the Nürburgring chicane. So Charles Weerts did a very good job. He got himself into the position. He made the undercut coming through Adelaide and was at one point fully alongside. And as they went into the Nürburgring chicane, the real estate was favourable to Charles Weerts.
Certainly was. And the previous lap, Charles had actually lost nearly a second to Gilles Magnus, but clearly got it back together and now is going to be streaking clear. Start-finish line, he would 2.6 seconds down on Simon Gachet. Now let's take a look. Why did second place Gilles Magnus, who's just in front? We're looking from Charles Weerts' car. Did he make a mistake? It's just behind us. Yes, he's run wide and couldn't commit to the power. And then that manifests itself, John, all the way up the hill to Adelaide.
He lost his momentum coming through Estoril. That gave Weerts the opportunity to get the run on him down into Adelaide. Easy to defend by staying on the inside. That gave Weerts the option to then undercut on the exit. And once Weerts got alongside, there was really little prospect of him not moving up one place into second.
Okay, now we've seen that replay, we can understand how suddenly Charles Weerts, who had been slightly falling away in third place, was presented with the opportunity to make the move that became second place. Now he looks a little calmer. Now he might be able to start chasing off after the race leader, Simon Gachet. 3.5 seconds is the gap between them. That's big.
The next car I'm going to keep an eye is the third car in line, Alexander Pierjean in the Ferrari, currently running in fourth place. You've got Timo Boguslawski in the lead Mercedes behind him. So this group of cars, third, fourth, fifth, down to Thomas Drouet, is going to be another battle. We've got 41 minutes of this race remaining. We're going to have the pit stop window opening up in 5 minutes. That's open for 10 minutes. Then we've got 25 minutes thereafter, flat out to the checkered flag.
It's going to be good. And for Simon Gachet, all he can do at the front of the race is keep your head down. Try and just eke out another 1/10 of a second here, 1/10 of a second there. For those like Pierre-Alexandre Jean, it's harder. He's got a car behind, getting closer all the time as well as Timo Boguslawski and a car in front. He's not running the lines he wants to run.
Well, when the lead car makes his pit stop, you're going to have Christopher Hasse getting behind the wheel. Stellar driver. When the second place Charles Weerts comes in, you're going to get Dries van Thor behind the wheel. Stellar driver. And third place, 26, when it comes in to make its pit stop, you're going to get Nicolas Beard, who was maybe a little bit less experienced. So the advantage is going to lie with the 11 and the 32 Audis for the battle to the checkered flag.
But let's just pick up on that, John. For all the work of the lead driver and the driver who takes over, it's also how the pit crew turn them around. If you gain a second, that is a gift that you sometimes can't even find out on the circuit. Now, be looking at Timo Boguslawski, who coming into the background of the shot behind the white and red and green Ferrari, the blue-nosed Mercedes, getting closer with every lap. Trying to see what he can do, but Pierre-Alexandre Jean, already a winner at Brands Hatch, looking pretty unflappable in that white Ferrari.
Might change in the next couple of laps because the Mercedes is now within 7/10 of a second of the tail of the Ferrari.
Wow, the speeds. That is Timo Boguslawski running in fifth place. We're riding on board with him. 3 kilometres an hour faster than the best of the rest. Benji Goethe at the Grand Cours. That is the fast left-hander that starts the lap, that feeds into Estoril. So certainly for the Mercedes driver, that is where he has an advantage. He's making it pay because he's catching the Ferrari.
Yes, up the hill into the Imola chicane. So Boguslawski, a little bit of correction, but the car fairly consistent. Now into the braking up at Virage du Lycée. And this is the different perspective. So all a bit untidy as this battle goes on between the two Audis as they make their way down the hill once again.
Well, that's Nicolas Scholl trying to defend from the chasing, lunging, diving Matthias Drudy. Not close enough. Well, he is close enough. He's made it work. This is the point the driver suddenly gets slightly blinded by the sun, and then through that final chicane. So 13th became 12th, became 11th, became 10th, now into 9th.
And you could see the experience in the class of Matthias Drudy. He worked out where he's got the benefits to find a way around Nicolas Scholl, and he did it down the hill. Not the easiest place in the circuit to pass, but if you do your prep well, then it's an option that's available to you.
So pit window opens in just over 3 minutes. If you're at the back of a pack and you're struggling to overtake, maybe you pit early. Maybe Timo Bogoslawski will pit as early as he can in 5th place to let Raffaele Marcello not just to get more track time, but to get position on the circuit.
Bogoslawski showed the nose of the Mercedes to the rear of the Ferrari. Alexander Pierre-Jean would have had his mirror filled with the nose of that blue and silver Mercedes. Didn't make a pass, but just trying to act as a distraction to make him focus not just what he's doing ahead, but to keep an eye to make sure. There is the 89, Bogoslawski coming through the 180 in the middle of the circuit, all over the rear of the Ferrari as now they accelerate this gradual incline up through the curve, the gentle curves that lead into the Imola chicane. Bogoslawski's hand coming off the wheel. I don't know why that was all about, but anyway, the Mercedes looks pretty planted, as in fairness does the Ferrari.
Yeah, but you saw how they used the curbs, and the Mercedes kicked slightly sideways there. Pierre-Alexandre Jean hitting the left-hand side curves, the tail coming out, he caught it and then immediately had to turn to the right. Down the hill they come to Virage de Lycée, this very tight penultimate corner. This is where there are passing attempts, but so many times the overtaker goes straight on because they just haven't done the braking. Very hard to pass through the chicane onto the start-finish straight, but Bogoslawski right on the tail now of the Ferrari.
Oh, one of those Audis running behind. Was that Aurelia Pani?
It was indeed, very wide in 7th place overall and kicking up the dust at the final corner.
So this is where Pierre-Alexandre Jean has got to be wheel perfect coming through Estoril to make sure he doesn't give anything, he doesn't give a free pass in a sense to the Mercedes that's following.
And here's a shot for you, John, a little box with a couple of drivers' feet in them.
Yeah, and it'll probably be a traditional now left foot brake. There we go. I still can't get my head around left foot braking, but the Ferrari gets into Adelaide hairpin and the Mercedes follows, runs a bit wide on the exit, but he's within, what, 4/10 of a second as they came across the line. I'm not quite sure whether it was still 4/10 as they came through Adelaide, but pursuing and pushing Pierre-Alexandre Jean all the way. Tighter entry from the Mercedes, and again, just hugging the sort of the perimeter of the 180 as now he comes off. That accelerates again up the hill and wonders where can I make another gain.
No gesticulations this time, no right hand off the wheel for Timo Bogoslawski because he's a little bit closer. This is super serious, but a cleaner run through the Imola chicane at the rise from the driver in 4th place. Pierre-Alexandre Jean didn't clatter the curves this time and therefore didn't lose that tiny margin that he did the time before.
When they come across the line to conclude lap 15, the next time they come through, the pit lane will be open and available to all the 24 cars. There it is. So there'll be some further down the field that will actually be able to make the pit stop at the earliest opportunity.
Wow, I was just going to say the gap between 1st and 2nd was coming down. It went down to 2.7 seconds. Remember, it was 3.5 when Charles Weerts moved past Magnus into 2nd place, but now 3.1. And did I spy Dries van Tor is one of the drivers standing on the pit apron? We'll see next time around. The pit window is open. 1-0. Now the pit window is open for 10 minutes and 10 minutes only. Come in before, you'll get penalised. Come in after the pit window closes. And you can guess the script for that one.
Well, Charles Weerts is, what, 3.1 seconds behind the race leader. And whether they will bring that 32 Audi into the pits at the earliest opportunity, or whether they decide let him stay where he is, he's doing a strong job for us. That's where WRT are so good. They read it and then they execute it.
Yeah, they'd have thought about it all beforehand, and just noting that there's gravel on the track at turn 2. That is Estoril. You don't want to be sliding onto that. And already there's the JP Motorsport McLaren, and we had, I think, Hugo Delacour had come in the number 21 AF Corsa Ferrari. But out front, Simon Gachet, he knows his teammate Christopher Haase very well. They've competed in years gone by. He's been running metronomic laps. It's harder and harder to see the chasing Charles Weerts. 3.1 seconds between leader and 2nd place. Pit window now open, but what do you do if you're Simon Gachet? We won't know if he's going to the pits until this point where he might suddenly turn in. No, having too much fun, continues on his way. But from 2nd place, it was Dries van Tor we saw standing and waiting, no doubt bobbing up and down on the balls of his feet. And in behind comes everyone else with Timo Bogoslawski all but clattering into the back of the Ferrari.
Yeah, so Mingus,
2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th,
yeah,
all
the Mingus, the Ferrari and the Mercedes all in. So there we see it'll be Ulysses de Pauw will get in behind the wheel of the Ferrari. Raffaele Marcello behind the wheel of the Mercedes, and in the case of the 26, that will be Nicolas Beat.
Well, indeed. Now, how well briefed are these teams? It's all about constant practice and rehearsal. Get it clean, get it right. But meanwhile, Simon Gachet stretches his advantage. And again, it looks like an excellent pit stop from Charles Weerts to Dries van Tor. How long in the pits? 40.8 seconds. Is that going to be the benchmark?
Well, we need to keep an eye on, well, the Mingus, number 26, 44.4 seconds.
And Bogoslawski has got ahead of the Ferrari, nearly pushed it into the pit lane, and Codis ASP slightly faster than AF Corsa. Job done.
A poor pit stop for the Ferrari AF Corsa, 45.1 seconds. That's, well, not quite the slowest. The slowest we've seen is the 111 McLaren.
But look, even though Timo Bogoslawski handing over to Raffaele Marcello, there was a place change. Theirs was 44.2. Let's just reiterate the time that Charles Weerts, when his car handed over to Dries van Tor, how long it took? 40.8 seconds in the pit lane. That's Christmas wrapped up for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you cannot afford to allow time like that to drift away, because within a short 1 hour race, it's very difficult to make anything up, let alone make up something like 4 seconds.
Okay, now the battle we're looking at here, the car's back on track, and Gilles Magnus has handed over to Nicolas Baer, but Nicolas Baer has got Raffaele Marcello not behind him. He's already alongside, and the Mercedes driver just waiting for no one to welcome him. The race leader, Simon Gachet, out of the car, and Christopher Hasse, the white and red helmeted German driver, takes over, and this is super experienced, but they had that lovely buffer of 3 and a bit seconds before the pit stops. But they want to be as efficient as they can in the pit stop, but if they lose 3 seconds, who's there to pick it up? It'll be Dries van Tor who'll move into the lead of the race. But let's not say ifs and buts. The last 2 cars still have to serve their pit stops, but for the front runners, it's looking neat and tidy, and here comes Dries van Tor. And exiting the pit lane is the number 11 Audi. Will that tuck back in front? Yes, it will, but by about a second, I think. But again, you've got that staggered exit from the pit lane, and the Audi off. Dries van Tor is into the lead. Team WRT take the bow yet again. That's exquisite.
And Christopher Hasse did everything he could. He carried all the speed out of the pit lane on a brand new set of tyres, or whatever the best of the rest is. But Dries van Tor saw that opportunity. He's on fresh tyres that have done 1 racing lap, had the momentum, had the pace, and was not only that, had the focus and the determination. My only chance to get past Christopher Hasse is now. Yeah, and he's taken it, and he's made it work.
He really has. So maybe the first smile of the weekend for Dries van Tor, but you could be sure as he turned into Grand Corps and then to Estoril, even with that extra lap of heat in the stars, the car was probably right on its tiptoes trying to get adhesion round the corner, but he stuck it out. And Christopher Hasse, too wise, too many years as a pro driver to try and make a silly mistake, a silly move to counter that. He's got to see if he could get under the rear wing where he is now and do anything about Dries van Tor. This is Audi on Audi. This is Dries van Tor on Christopher Gachet. So much experience between them. It's going to be a fabulous dogfight.
Christopher Hasse, Simon Gachet. Just one of those little things that happens when we're talking. It's not Christopher, not Simon Gachet. Anyway, down the hill, here we go. The battle going on as we go back into the pit lane, and 25 is in for its service. Patrick Niederharder.
Yeah, this is a car that had a poor pit stop at Brands Hatch that cost them a big result, but of course they came into that little bit later, and it may yet pay off. And the Matthias Rudy has not pitted as yet, so we still haven't had all of the field in, but they were going to have a long stint. He was starting 13th on the grid, so still cars leaving the pit lane. There is the car that went from Aurélien Panis just across to Patrick Niederhauser. Where is that going to slot in? But it's a long way round the corner. That was a 43.4 second stop. That's not bad. That's sort of there or thereabouts.
Raffaele Marcello in 9th position is on a charge, just set fastest race lap of this race. Now we need to see, once all these pit stops wash through, precisely where that 89 Mercedes is going to be.
Fourth, maybe third.
It just depends. He's cleared the Mercedes, sorry, I beg your pardon, he's cleared the Ferrari, because they had a really poor pit stop. So Marcello again setting fastest race lap sector times. He's the man outside of the leading Audis that's going to be the one to look at.
Right, if you want to run your race differently, you look to number 12, starting down in 13th on the grid. Matthias Rudy now up into effective lead of the race. Patrick Niederhauser listed as ahead of him, but he is behind him on the lap. He's served the pit stop, but the pit stop window still open for another 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You can be sure Matthias is going to run as long as he possibly can. Nobody around him, and then he's going to have to hope and pray that Tracer by Car Collection can have a clean pit stop. and see if they can gain him more places. But right now he can put his car where he wants, John. He's got no one around him, and the Italian we know is quick. He bided his time, but he was one of the few drivers doing overtaking manoeuvre after overtaking manoeuvre in the early laps.
Well, his last lap was within a tenth of a second or less, in fact, than his overall fastest lap. So Matteo Drudi, all on his own, no traffic to concern him with. Just focus, make your apexes, don't outbrake yourself, get on the throttle and drive the car out of the corner. And he is using the opportunity. It's a gift right now for Matteo Drudi in the number 12 Audi.
Right, Peter Schotthorst, second place, the 66 Attempto Audi. Then Manuel Maldonado, the 159. McLaren is in third, and Petro Umbarescu, the 86 Mercedes, in fourth. However, none of those have stopped. The one who has stopped and is leading those that have is Dries van Tor, only just from Christopher Haase, 0.8 of a second last time they crossed the start-finish line. The 52 Ferrari, Louis Machiels will hand over to Andrea Bertolini, but of course they are running in the Pro-Am class. They've got their own battle to consider.
The lead Audis are in a race of their own. The next car that's going to come into contention for a podium will be the 89 Mercedes, Raffaele Marcello, but he is 7 seconds behind Christopher Haase. We've got 27 minutes of this race remaining. If he can take a fraction or so of a second a lap out, 27 minutes, well, he might get close, but can he make any move to find a way around? By the time he gets there, he'll have driven the Pirellis as hard as anybody in this race.
Right, so Matteo Drudi in from the briefly lived lead in this race. Started, as I said, down the order in 13th place. He'll hand over to Luca Giotto. And Raffaele Marcello banging in, nearly into the 1 minute 36s last time. 1 minute 37.005. That was his lap time. He took 0.6 of a second out of Christopher Haase. Haase, of course, is busy in the office. He's trying to take the lead from Dries van Tor. But Dries is just edging that little bit clear with each lap. But I think, surely for Marcello, it looks so third place, like he had in the opening race at Brands Hatch, is where he's likely to finish.
Yes, the best opportunity for that 89 Mercedes may come tomorrow, when it'll be Marcello who does the qualifying and he will start the race. So one might assume he's going to have that Mercedes nearer to the front. And whoa!
Whoa, that was Casper Stevenson getting it just a little bit twitchy, and you get it wrong on the approach to Estoril, and then you're into the dirt.
Did you say he was only 18 years of age?
19.
19? Oh, well, 19. Well, at 19 you shouldn't have made that type of move. But look, he's a kid, for goodness sake. And he made a move. It was a very ambitious move, and it nearly caught him out as the Audi exits from the pit lane, and he thinks about it. Can he make a move? Here, the back end drifts around, gets out of the gas, but has to go wide on the exit. So the left side of the tires are going to be, well, in fact, all four tires are going to be choked in the gravel dust as he goes now down, all the way down into Adelaide. Needs to be careful on the brakes because it takes a little bit of time to clear those tires up.
Well, a matter of small margins. Of course, he wanted to really put pressure. He wanted to be in front of the number 12 Audi when it came back out of the pit lane onto the track, but Luca Giotto did just enough, and then that compromise line was too tight for him. Round went the tail. So we should have in the lead of the race will be Dries van Tor from Christopher Haase, from Raffaele Marcello, the last of the runners coming in just before the pit window is closed. That's Manuel Maldonado from third place, which will no longer be third place. The field, those that pitted, will be streaming past. It'll be Dries van Tor from Christopher Haase, from, it should be Rafa Marcello, who's banged in another fastest lap, 1 minute 36.5 seconds. He's taken another 0.6 out of Christopher Haase. So 7 seconds is down to 5.7.
Now that is typical Raffaele Marcello. He's just absolutely mercurial in his charge to get up to, well, attempt to overtake into second place, but he's doing purple sector after purple sector in this charge. I mean, it's a master class from the Italian who now lives in Switzerland and wears a Swiss flag. There he is. He loves racing, and what he is doing is just showing everybody what a great racer he is.
Right, very, very little between Dries van Tor in the lead of the race, the number 32 WRT Audi. It was 1.2 seconds over Christopher Haase, but they're swapping just tenths of a second. At the moment, they won't be able to see the chase that's coming after this blue, white, silver and black Mercedes. He'll be just that little bit too far behind. 5.7 seconds as they run up the hill to Adelaide, the point at which they might see him. They'll be looking where to place their cars in a possible passing manoeuvre or a defensive manoeuvre at the top of the hill. But Marcello is definitely chasing. We're riding with Nello right now.
Yes, up into the Imola chicane, listen and watch. Quick switch back to the exit of the chicane now. And we cut away now for the action on the run down the hill.
Well, it's going to be an even faster lap. Fastest in the first sector, fastest of all in the second sector. He's got into the mid 1 minute 36s. He'd be in the background of the shot. Here he is into that penultimate corner, Virage du Lycée. Still those two Audis fighting for the lead will not be able to see him in their rearview mirror.
5.7 seconds was the gap, second to third. Comes across the line now, waiting for 5 seconds. Precisely.
5 seconds flat. He's just marginally quicker than his previous fastest lap, 1 minute 36.508 seconds. Front end washing away a little bit, but he doesn't come off the power too much through the exit of Grand Corbin to Estoril. Then it's all about getting this clean exit, John, as he goes up that kick straight to the top of the hill to the Adelaide hairpin.
I could sit and watch this on-board shot for the entire race because it's just wonderful to watch him at his work. If you go back to this battle for what is 21st, 22nd position.
Right, while all this is happening, let's just run you down the order. It's Dries Van Tor, Christopher Haase, Raffaele Marciello, Patrick Niederhauser, so it was a good pit stop from Santalot Racing. Luca Giotto, fastest and best place of the Silver Cup runners is Nicolas Baer, who's taken over from Gilles Magnus. Just that little mistake put them down the order, but Ulysses de Pauw is fighting back in the 53 AF Corsa Ferrari. In the Pro-Am class, it's Dean McDonald leading the way in his McLaren, down in 19th place overall. Second in Pro-Am, look at him now, Cedric Spirazzuoli, one of the AF Corsa Ferraris, and he's just in front of Christian Klein, and only just, and the ex-Austrian Formula 1 driver will be trying to gain positions. One person who is doing that is Fred Verviche. Don't forget that was the car that had an extra 10 seconds at a standstill in the pit stop, and Christopher trying to build on whatever was given to him by Valle.
Fred is not going to give it up going into the Nürburgring chicane. He's got the car into 18th, that should be now 17th, finding a way around the Mercedes. So Fred Verviche, we know, a class act anytime he's in a race car, let alone an Audi, and making up positions. And I mean, the 10-second additional stop time in the pits hurts big time, and Verviche doing a very good job indeed for the 46 Audi crew.
Yeah, if you put him another 10 seconds up the road, he'd be about 2 places higher up. So it's a time of frustration. But don't forget, he will be the qualifier for the 46 Audi tomorrow, and he will be the one taking the first half of the race, the start in the first half. So gaining ground now, but points will be hard to come by. They go down to 10th position in each of the classes. So Dries Van Tor leading, just gaining a small margin, a third of a second last time. No, 4/10 better than Christopher Haase. And now we're looking at the back of the Sky Tempesta Racing Mercedes. And for Chris Froggatt, he's down in 16th position, not where he wants to be. They said they're not on top of the car, but what is on top of the car is Fred Verviche getting closer and closer.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to run through the exit of Estoril quicker than Froggatt in the Mercedes, so that will give him a marginal advantage. The big problem, of course, is the Mercedes got good straight line performance, and the Audi's going to try and use the best of the two the Mercedes is giving. Froggatt is going to probably stay in the middle, if not to the right-hand side of the racetrack, coming down into Adelaide. Well, he's not. He's decided he doesn't need to. But look, Verviche has stuck his nose in. The intent is there, just he needed another couple of car lengths to make it stick.
Maybe even half a car length up at Adelaide would have made the difference. So it doesn't matter if you're fighting for the lead, or in this case fighting for 16th position. It's fast, it's furious, and you can see how the light is changing, John. It was very bright when we started the race, but we started at 7:30 local time, and we're now past 8 o'clock.
Remember, this time last year, this race was a later race, and we went into darkness. This race was going to finish probably in twilight. That's a lovely word, twilight. But I don't think it's going to be the darkness that we had to cope with just 1 year ago.
Yeah, I think back to some of the races here. The night race on the Saturday, full darkness on the circuit. Quite hard for the camera crews to pick them out. It's a very dark circuit, and Fred Verviche didn't need a second invitation and picks off Chris Froggatt. He had the speed, found the place to make the move work.
And that's just pure racing nous and experience. He found a way around or up the inside of Chris Froggatt. Once he had made the move, he compromised himself in the process, but he made sure he compromised Chris Froggatt even more. And that's, again, part of the skill of being a good overtaker.
And that's why the Polish racer Igor Volilko has been able to close right on the tail in that 2 Mercedes train. Look, the black and white car in the background is Volilko. And he might suddenly realise, I've got a chance here too. But for Chris Froggatt, it's settled down. Pretend you like the Mercedes at the moment, still trying to find its limits and how it likes to handle. But talking about the limits, look at the way that Dries Van Tor is gradually just edging clear of Christopher Haase, while from behind, now just 4.9 seconds in the rear is Raffaele Marciello.
Purple first sector, purple second sector on this lap.
Yeah, last time around he took 1.2 seconds out of Christopher Haase and slightly less out of the race leader. That's why Dries Van Tor is just over 2 seconds clear. But it seemed insurmountable or unlikely that Raffaele Marcello could keep on closing, but most certainly he is. Over the chicane, onto the start-finish straight, correct it. Now let's see what the gap is. First to second, 2.1 seconds, 4.3 seconds, another 6/10 gain by the flying Swiss driver born in Zurich.
Indeed. So here we go into Estoril once again. Runs it out to the very edge of the corner, then brings it back to finish the one big long, it's an arc you take you through Estoril. Top speed as we come down through Grand Cours, still to the advantage of Marcello.
Yeah, well, Timo Bogoslawski, his teammate, did 214, and Raffaele Marcello's taken over and gone another 3 kilometres an hour faster into that first corner. A fearsomely fast left-hander, and that is just a brilliant statistic because he's closing all the time. The car in front, Christopher Haase, who is nobody's fool in an Audi, he's been racing them forever and a day, can do nothing about the chase, but he's still got that buffer of 4 seconds. 2 seconds.
Fred Verviers was the second quickest car into Grand Cours. Now, there's nothing wrong with the car. What it illustrates is how good Fred Verviers is, but how much experience Valentino Rossi has yet got to learn. Riding a MotoGP bike, magic. Different deal in a 4-wheel GT3 Audi.
And what it does, it just stresses the absolute calibre of the front runners in this championship. Drivers come in from other categories to try this, and they suddenly go, oh, these are not easy. And for the specialists, the like of Dries Van Tor, Christopher Haase, Raffaele Marcello, Patrick Niederhauser, that is why they're in the top 4 positions. They're brilliant in these cars.
Well, these are the best GT3 drivers in the world.
They certainly are. Just right, let's reiterate, another gain for the race leader Dries Van Tor, 2.9 seconds the good, but look, I'll come to that in a second, John, but the gap between Marcello and Christopher Haase is down to 1.1 seconds. It was 7 seconds. It's coming down. Traffic may yet have a role to play, but someone who's just banged in the fastest first sector of anyone. I said the Dynamic Motorsport Porsches weren't on the pace. Well, in the hands of Christian Engelhardt, they most certainly are, but he's down in 13th position. Fastest of all in the first sector. He may gain a place or two, but they've still got some way to go to get it just right. But maybe tomorrow, if he can have that sort of form in qualifying, it'll be up at the front end of the grid. That's the 54 Porsche, but it's down in 13th place.
Félicie Dupont is paying the penalty of that poor pit stop by Porsche, running behind Nicolas Beat in the 26 Audi. So there is the gap between second place, Christopher Haase, third place, Raffaele Marcello. The Mercedes was able to hold a much tighter line going through the 180 than Christopher Haase was done. Maybe that's the story of Christopher Haase having to deal with. He can't keep the nose of the Audi as tight as he would like. Through these corners is a bit quicker, maybe not quite the problem, but there you see 9/10 of a second, 7/10 of a second, 1.1 over those previous 3 laps. That's taking lumps out of Christopher Haase's second place.
That's 3 seconds that's out. They're down to under a second between second and third place. Christopher Haase still hanging on for Tracer by car collection. Meanwhile, up front, Dries Van Tor was 2.9 seconds clear. When he completes this lap, he's probably just turning. He's on the start-finish straight. It might go out a little bit more, but certainly for Raffaele Marcello, he's now got a proper toe from Christopher Haase. He's just 0.5 of a second down on the German in second place, who is now 3.4 seconds away from the race leader. This is great for Van Tor.
I was going to say, it depends how the Audi can get into Estoril, and I think Christopher Haase is having to wait because he can't get the front to bite enough, and that has given Marcello again a marginal gain as they come through the exit, then this run down into Adelaide. Now he's not in a position to execute an overtake, but he's giving Christopher Haase a good workout. Now what the difference between the two cars is, what, 2 or 3/10 of a second, and all over the back of the Audi now, accelerating down into this quick right left at Nürburgring. Watch what happens when they go into the 180. The Mercedes, to me, can hold a tighter line on the entry. Well, there it is. Watch the Mercedes if it can stay that little bit tighter, just get the power on that little bit earlier. Look how much space the Audi is having to use to get around the 180.
Well, it really, really is tightening up. Traffic could have a role. There's a back marker up ahead. The car running last in the field is Isak Tutumlu. That's the GSM Nova Marine Lamborghini. That is just up the road and ahead of them. And let's hope it's not fighting for any position at the tail of the field, because when this second and third place battle comes across them, they're going to need all the help they can get. And maybe this is another opportunity for Raffaele Marcello, who at the moment, we said pre-race, it looks like an Audi sort of circuit. He's spoiling the pattern. There are 5 Audis in the top 6 positions, but that Mercedes, Raffaele Marcello, number 89, is in third position and catching and bouncing over the curves. Every little increment to be gained, Marcello is taking out of Christopher Haase.
But Christopher Haase, again, very experienced, very capable driver. He knows that the Lamborghini is going to be either to his detriment or to his advantage. So he doesn't want to catch it in a difficult part of the circuit. But look how close Marcello can get in the middle as they go through Estoril. So Raffaele Marcello is looking way beyond where Christopher Haase is. He's thinking, where will the Lamborghini come into play? And will it come into play at a point where I can see an advantage developing, or will Christopher Haase gain that advantage?
Well, the good news for them is that Isak Tutumlu has fallen away from the car he was playing with. In fact, as Dries van Tor goes down the hill, he's got that nearly 4-second advantage, but second and third, where is the move going to come? But Christopher Haase is the driver as they go through the Nürburgring S, who leaves the door open. He's been around the block long enough to know just precisely where to put his car, but at the 180, a little twitch.
The Audi is struggling, both on turn and then on throttle. The nose washed out, then he got on the throttle and the back stepped out. He's caught the back of the Audi, but it'll not be an easy overtake. He's going to have to be rather forthright, I suspect, somewhere. And the sooner he is, then the easier the pass is going to become. The longer he stays behind Christopher Haase, the more his momentum is going to be compromised, and he'll end up finishing third.
Great driving from Isak Tutumlu. The Spanish driver saw what was happening. He heeded the blue flags and he pulled out of the way. Well done. He hasn't interrupted this battle for second position, and you can be sure that either of those drivers are thinking, I might have gained if it stayed there, but well done to GSM Nova Marine and keeping their Lamborghini out of the way. Right, Dries van Tor, he'll be more than 4 seconds clear. 4.4 seconds to the good. So this race not quite in the bag, 12 minutes to go, but it's this battle for second place. It's been edging one way, then the other, but most recently actually a slight gain for Christopher Haase, just stemming the flow.
Again, Haase can't keep the Audi as tight in the middle of Estoril as Marcello can do on the Mercedes, and again the speed off the corner marginally to the advantage of Marcello, but on the straight only for the first time really Christopher Haase using the middle of the racetrack to try and deny Marcello, who comes out that little bit quicker over the curve for Christopher Haase. Now can he do anything into Nürburgring? It'll be a brave move. He's got more momentum. He's got alongside. He's going to go through. Yes, but Haase's, he had to. He had no choice.
He had to just lift that tiny little bit, and it was a real freight train coming down from the top of the hill from the Adelaide hairpin. Better exit. We've seen the punch of the Mercedes out of the Adelaide hairpin, and again at 180 just seems to have the grip and the traction and the shunt out of the corner, used it to its fullest. But those were 2 pro drivers knowing when the battle was won.
The balance that Marcello has in the Mercedes is a better balance and allows Marcello more options to attack than we see for Christopher Haase in the Audi, who's having to balance a little bit of understeer here, a snap oversteer there, but fundamentally his big problem is not being able to keep the nose of the Audi where he would like it.
Right, so he's got up into that second place. The start of the previous lap, first to second, was 4.4 seconds. Taking a look as they came down the hill, how close would you like your drivers to be over second place? That could have turned a little bit rough and ready, but that was Christopher Haase being very wise, ceding position when he knew he was beaten down the slope.
So here we go, out of Adelaide hairpin. The Mercedes has got better drive, better traction. He can beginning to out-accelerate the Audi, all due to that better traction off. Adelaide now gets fully alongside and he's taken the corner away. In fact, he had to cut across the inside, and we saw Christopher Haase using even more of the inside of the. But that was the smart move, rather than getting into a fight on the racetrack and damaging both teams' prospects of getting on the podium. He conceded.
Right, Dries van Tor streaking clear, 5.5 seconds to the good. That little battle behind him helped him, but now the bolt is out of the gun. The bullet is coming. It's Raffaele Marcello, but surely with under 10 minutes remaining, Dries van Tor, he hasn't got as many wins as he's put in the bag without being an excellent driver, but Marcello catching all the time until the last 3 laps, and in that battle he then lost ground, but he's got to close in. For a while the top 3 cars are covered by 4 seconds. Now it's 6.1. You can understand the maths, John.
Yeah, the momentum that Marcello lost on that last lap up to the point where he got clear of Christopher Haase is the reason why the gap has extended more than it is. 5.5 seconds. Now Marcello again, fastest overall sector time, sector 1. Nothing outstanding, but still a pretty good second sector. So he will try and eat into that 5.5 second advantage. when they come across the start-finish line at the end of lap 31, the gap is probably going to be 5.12345.
I think that's covered all the bases there, John. Keep going down to the 7 decimal positions. 5.312 is what John was trying to say. That with 8.5 minutes remaining in the clock is the gap between Dries Vanthoor and Raffaele Marcello. You have to feel with his experience, and already Dries Vanthoor has got 7 class wins behind him, outright wins in the Sprint Cup over the years. Surely he's got the measure of this.
Nicolas Bert's done a really good job here this evening, staying ahead of the Ferrari of Lucia De Paul. We know how fast that car combination, we saw it at Brands Hatch, but the Ferrari has not been able to make any serious inroads into that battle that's going on for 6th position.
Yeah, don't forget for the Santalok junior team, Nicolas Bert and Gilles Magnus in the opening round, 11th and then 18th. They're at higher ground here, so running in that 6th place is very impressive progress for the young Belgians indeed. And the clock continues to count down. Lucia De Paul getting very close under braking, but of course it then stretches away from him as they put the power down to go down the slope to the Nürburgring S. And the light is fading fast on the circuit. The sunshine has gone behind the hill, but what a great day it's been at Magny Cours so far.
So on board with Ferrari, running in 7th position, running behind the 26 Audi out of the 180, and having to use quite a lot of the curbing on the exit just to stay in contact with Nicolas Bert directly ahead. The gap when they came across the line the last time was just a fraction over half a second.
Yeah, but what's happening in behind Ulysse De Paul, Casper Stevenson, we saw him have that little mistake at Estoril. He's in 8th place trying to pick up positions. Don't forget he would have been in about 5th position if it had not been for that moment as the number 12 Audi came back onto the track. Luca Giotto just getting position, and Casper going sideways, but Casper coming down the hill there, the 87 Mercedes, Christopher Mies behind him. Christopher Mies in an Audi chasing you down. You're only 19, how are you supposed to resist that? And certainly for now, with nearly 7 minutes on the clock, that is precisely what Casper Stevenson is doing.
Well, the 2 Christophers in this race, Mies and Haas, are both well-seasoned, honed Audi drivers. Casper Stevenson, a lot less experience, and with the pressure that Christopher Mies will apply, he'll come away from this race, he'll have learned something.
He certainly will. He'll understand where to attack, how to attack, where to defend perhaps. Right, Raffaele Marcello to Dries Vanthoor. It's come down, but only by 1/10 of a second last time around, 1/10 and a half, if you will. Dries Vanthoor leading by 5.17 seconds. Right, Pro-Am Cup, it's Dean McDonald leading the way, the Garage 59 McLaren. And that is in 18th place overall, having passed Chris Froggatt on that last lap. So Froggatt going backwards, and now Klaus Bachler. Now he's a superstar in a Porsche. He's all over the tail of the Froggatt Mercedes. So Dean McDonald escapes. He's well clear in the Pro-Am class. Second in class, Cedric Spirazzuoli in one of the Ferraris. But it's all about the McLaren in the Pro-Am class.
So 5 minutes and a little bit remaining. It's all settled down. The gaps between first and second, 5.1 seconds, second to third, 1.9 seconds, third to fourth, 5.6 seconds, and fourth to fifth, 9 seconds. Where's all the racing gone?
Well, it's suddenly run away. Christopher Mies, we know, is close, and we've seen how close he is. Now we're looking at Chris Froggatt, and unfortunately for him, the race going a little bit backwards. You can hear the car bottoming over the curbs and the chicane. But out front, Dries Vanthoor, 5.0 seconds to the good. Losing 1/10 of a second here, 1/10 of a second there to Raffaele Marcello. But he's only got 5 minutes remaining until the checkered flag can be unfolded. He's got this race under control unless something really untoward happens in front of him, perhaps when he's coming up across the tail of a back marker.
Interested to see whether Klaus Bachler and the Porsche are running behind Chris Froggatt in the Sky Tempesta Ferrari, whether the Porsche can, in a sense, redeem itself. They had a poor qualifying for both the Dynamic Motorsport Porsches, and they want to make progress. Whether they could do better in qualifying. Oh, runs wide, Chris Froggatt struggling to get the Mercedes turned in, and again Klaus Bachler will be reading that and thinking, well, if Froggatt's got a problem there, he's going to have a problem when they come down into this quick section of track, and that gives me hope. If I can stay close to the tail of the Mercedes, maybe I'll have a chance to get up alongside. Again, watch how wide the Mercedes runs, having to wait before he can get back on the throttle.
Yeah, and his first year with the Mercedes, of course, after years with the Ferrari, but Klaus Bachler seems to be racing Porsche 911 GT3Rs since he was a boy. But anyhow, Going very well. Lights are flashing. I'm coming up the hill. I intend to pass you, or not. Maybe a little bit of a feint. Nothing of the sort. Right, at the front of the field, we're looking at Dries van Toor. 4.4 seconds to good now over Raffaele Marcello. It's coming down, but so is the clock at the top of the screen. Under 4 minutes remain. Battle that we're looking at on screen is the battle for 6th place. Nicolas Baer in the red Audi, just ahead of Ulysses Depot in that white Ferrari. Then Casper Stevenson, the 87 Mercedes, with Christopher Mies all over his tail. And 2 seconds further back, Maxi Goetz starting to make a move in that yellow and black Mercedes in the background. 10th place.
3.5 minutes remaining. I wonder, Christopher Mies runs way wide on the approach to the Grand Curve to try and give himself a better entry, carry a little bit more speed to enable himself to get here, the transition to the right through Estoril, get onto the tail of the Mercedes, get the benefit of whatever the tool that is around to give him that straight line performance.
And you know, not a little battle at the back of the field. That's Cedric Spirazzuoli, I think, about to be passed by Christian Klein. The black and gold McLaren should have the outside line as they sweep down to the penultimate corner. But Spirazzuoli, the driver from Monaco, is going to have to back out. He does. So Christian Klein up to 2nd place in the Prime class. And he covers it and gets a blast up the back. A little bit of a push and shove. Who's going to get the power down? The Austrian just onto the start-finish straight. That was fun.
Well, he backed out of it as he came through Village de Lycée. And the Ferrari just bumped into the back of it, unsettled the back of the McLaren. But Christian Klein is a long-time race driver, and that will not faze him too much. He's got clear air now between the Ferrari running in 22nd and the McLaren in 21st. So once he's gained that initial overtake, he's on his way.
Right, the gap between 1st and 2nd is down to 4.1 seconds. Raffaele Marcello still chipping away at Dries van Toor's lead. But can I throw a little fact at you, John? That Team WRT pit stop, 40.8 seconds for our race leader. It was 3.4 seconds faster than the one for Marcello. And he's sitting on an advantage of 4.1. It tells its own story. Of course, Marcello, his car, he took over from 5th place from Timo Bogaslice. He got it up to 2nd. It's been excellent. But again, he would be that much closer if WRT hadn't been so excellent at the turnaround.
Well, Akoda's ASP, the Mercedes team, normally are extremely good in the pit lane. Consistently the best is WRT, the team that's running this 32 Audi, Dries van Toor. They gained, it was a free pass, if you wish, literally and metaphorically, that has enabled this car to get to the head of the field. And ultimately, great job by Charles Verts on the opening stint, but that 3.5 to 4 second gain in the pit stop, it was just a gift.
It was, and just being in front as other cars are coming around Grand Cours and getting up to speed. So the gap, 4.1 seconds between this driver, Raffaele Marcello, the Swiss Mercedes driver, and that driver at the bottom of the screen, the Belgian Audi driver of car 32, Dries van Toor. It now looks pretty even, Stevens. No, the first sector, more time gained by Marcello. Second sector, 0.2 of a second gained by Raffaele, but Dries van Toor has got enough in hand. We're into the final minute of the race, so he's about to complete this lap and go on to the final lap of the race. Charles Weerts watching in the middle of the screen, and team boss Vincent Vos, they've watched this car win so many times. It's been a phenomenal pairing, phenomenal team.
Professional execution of how to win a race. And remember, they lost out at the start because they went from 2nd to 3rd, so they've had to work for it. But the job they did in the pit lane, I can't emphasize it strongly enough, is the reason why they're in this position. 3.8 seconds ahead of 2nd place, Raffaele Marcello. If the Akoda's ASP team had a similar time pit stop, this would be a battle literally for the last lap going into Adelaide. Two cars would be side by side. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that.
No, so just remember, 3.4 seconds faster at the pit stop. The gap is only 3.8 seconds now as Marcello closes in all the time. But for Dries van Toor, he's half a lap to go down to Nürburgring through the S for the final time at full racing speed. And Marcello, yes, he's closer, but nowhere near close enough. Still hasn't given up, diving deep into 180. He never backs
see the
off.
speed he's carrying into 180, and he has consistently been the fastest car into that 180. And we've seen Audis around him and not been able to do that, particularly the car of Christopher Haase. He was struggling to get the nose to turn in, but this 32 Audi, superb job.
2 corners to go. I just want to show you how the advantage of the front two has stretched. Christopher Haase is now 5 seconds behind Raffaele Marcello down the hill from Chateau d'Eau. With nobody too close in front of him to interrupt his form comes Dries van Toor. Charles Weerts started from 2nd, got moved back to 3rd, worked his way back to 2nd before the pit stop. Team WRT, a brilliant turnaround the fast of all, and that is why they've taken the checker flag. Dries van Toor in front of Raffaele Marcello, and that, you can see, means a whole lot to WRT. 2 seconds in the sprint rounds at Brands Hatch, but a win. That's what they wanted, and that's what they've got at Magny Cours.
Well, they've got to do it all over again. On Sunday, there'll be a qualifying session. Sunday morning, different conditions, lower track and ambient temperature. And then the race itself will be starting local time, 3 p.m. here at Magny Cours. Could be a different day. It happens in the forecast, but certainly it'll be a challenge for all.
Expected to be fine. The car finishing in 6th place, Nicolas Baer, the number 26 Santalok Audi, just coming to the front of your screen there, at the front of the picture, is the winning car in the Silver Cup, just ahead by half a second of Ulysses de Pau in the AF Corsa, the white Ferrari, and haven't got the final runner, who's going to come across, not the final runner, the car, the driver who's going to win the final class, coming down the hill now. It's 188, the McLaren from Garage 59. It's Dean McDonald. Not under too much pressure there. He's got it under control. Good race for the great-looking McLaren there.
Yes, the young Scottish driver has really taken to this level of GT racing and comes in to win his class. 18th overall is irrelevant in terms of where the championship that they're fighting in. So they've got maximum points in their class, and that's what they came here to achieve.
Absolutely so. So a few people coulda, shoulda had better results, but those that made progress, most notably the number 12 Audi from 13th up to 5th, Luca Giotto building on the work of Matteo Drudi. Raffaele Marcello, his car started down in 6th on the grid, so that's a gain up to 2nd place, but 2nd place on the grid, despite getting a little bit jumped at the start. That was enough for Charles Weerts to build the sort of position in the race to hand over to the team, to do a brilliant pit stop, to hand the car to Dries van Tor and take the victory. So first blood at Magny Cours to Team WRT, to Charles Weerts and Dries van Tor. And let's take a look as the race that started in the bright light fell to dusk here at Magny Cours. Team WRT, Charles Weerts started, Dries van Tor took over, and the result was victory by 3.138 seconds from the chasing Raffaele Marcello in the number 89 Mercedes at the end. Simon Gachet was a real star in qualifying, but he and Christopher Haase had to make do with 3rd place, but valuable points for their team. It's the new team. It's Tracer by Car Collection. Then Aurelien Panis and Patrick Niederhauser, a more solid result for 4th place to them. Matteo Drudi and Luca Giotto, 13th to 5th. That's impressive. And then the top Silver Cup runner, 3 of them in a row. And it was Nicolas Baer who came home in 6th place overall to take the Silver Cup honours. Look down to 1,880, that 118th position overall. That was Miguel Ramos from Portugal and Dean McDonald from the UK winning the Pro-Am class, and all the runners got to the end of the race. A race full of incident, but luckily no collisions and no contact and no cars. And for the Valentino Rossi fans, they were in high form before the start of the race. Their car in the end, how high did Fred Vervisch get it? Up to 15th place overall, and that was serving an extra 10 seconds during their pit stop. So a good, solid run for them. But patting the roof of his car, Dries van Tor is out. That's his 8th career victory in the Sprint Cup in these Fanatec GT series, and yet another strong result for the Belgian pair.
Yeah, I mean, a superlative job there. You see Charles Weerts, Charles Weerts comes along and congratulates his young, I was going to say they're both young, but Weerts is the slightly younger of the two now. But I mean, watching Dries van Tor, he's so, I say metronomic about the way he goes about guiding his 32 Audi to victory.
Well, let's find out what the winners think, because we're down there with Gemma.
Congratulations to both of you. That was a phenomenal race. Really exciting for us to watch. A lot of pressure for you. Come to you first, Charles. Your stint there dropped back, but that 2nd place manoeuvre you did was wonderful.
Yeah, it was quite good. Fortunately, I missed the start. Got a bit surprised by how early it was, but nevertheless, I could get that 2nd position back, and then thanks to the amazing job. I mean, I'm saying this thing every time I'm talking to you, but it's really thanks to the boys here at WRT that we could get by the Car Collection car. And with the 89 from Marcello being so fast, was really important to have them behind us. So it's really thanks to them, and thanks to my great teammate that we won again today.
Dries, that pit stop made all the difference. You guys had the fastest pit stop, and that was evidently the gap between you and Raffaele at the end.
Yeah, I mean, like Charles said, a great job by the team. I mean, they again delivered, and they keep delivering every time again, so it helps us, it gives us that little extra, but it was tough. As soon as I was on my out lap, I felt like it was going to be a long 30 minutes, because I did not enjoy driving it so much, but yeah, again, great job by Charles, great job by the team, and happy to win the first sprint race for us actually this season. So yeah, very happy.
Back on top. Well done, boys. Thank you.
Don't forget, these drivers grew up at Team WRT. Yves Weerts, father of Charles, is the team owner, and for Dries Van Tor, he grew up alongside, watching his brother Laurent racing for the team. But it was a great, great run for the 32 Audi. But Charles Weerts owning up to the fact that they didn't get away as cleanly as they wanted. He fell from second on the grid down to third and had to fight to get back to second before the pit stops. The team truly delivered. And Dries Van Tor, we saw how he was on tiptoes when he came out, and he got his car up to speed as quickly as he could. But let's hear from the crew in second place. Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marciello.
Raffaele, you look so calm and cool, but you just drove an incredible stint. Once you got past Hasse, you were on fire.
Yeah, I think today me and Dries, we were pretty, the same pace we had. So for sure tomorrow morning will be a nice battle between me and him. And I think the other Audi, they are quite strong in qualifying, then they struggle a bit in the race. So maybe they can even be a bit quicker than me and Dries tomorrow morning, but I mean, we will push and then we will see.
Another couple laps, it felt like you would have got him almost, but certainly a great race. And Timo, just a quick word from yourself as well, you know, watching on there as Raffaele put that charge on.
Yeah, so finally we find a good setup for the car at this track, because normally we are slow here. I take a good start, overtake car from our team, and so after I stuck just behind the Ferrari because it's so hard to drive behind of someone here. Yeah, but Lalo did, as always, amazing job, so thank you for him and for the team.
Thank you both very much. You can both smile. Go on.
No smiles for second place. They're used to winning. And Timo Bogoslawski also just explaining, when you get a different mix, you've got the Ferrari in there, someone new to race against, learn how to race against. But Timo kept his nose clean, and then Raffaele really chased down Christopher Haase. Two absolute pros going at it, but Raffaele got through. But let's hear from the drivers that started on pole. It was Simon Gachet who handed to Christopher Haase.
Simon and Christopher, a fantastic race, a tough race. Let's come to you first, Simon, and ask you about that start there. It looked like you were just about ready to go.
Good start. After I think I did the job. The car was not too bad. It was a bit harder for Chris at the end. I don't know why. We need to analyze. That's it. But it's a podium, so it's cool for the championship for us.
Absolutely. Christopher, you had so much pressure on you behind you from Raffaele, really, really all over the back of you. You must have really felt that.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, it's a great result for us. The first podium for SRO Motorsport, first podium for us in this season. We have to look for the points. Definitely, when Marcello was coming, it was tough for me to keep the pace or to keep him behind. And also the pace to the front was tough to catch that. But P3 is a good kickoff, and I think we have more potential in us.
Keep working hard. Well done today.
Well, indeed. Potential progression, 7th at Brands Hatch, 4th at Brands Hatch, now 3rd here. So for Tracer by Car Collection, they're building, and the sister car that started by Matthias Drudi and finished by Luca Giotto, moving from 13th to 5th. So there is pace for the team run with the red and white Trezor race livery, and now getting all set for the podium. And it's one Mercedes and 2 Audis. But as we look down there, of course, it's a Mercedes on the left that won the Silver Cup class, and the Pro-Am winning McLaren on the right, and that was Dean McDonald and Miguel Ramos. But the overall winners right in the middle of the shot. It's car number 32, Dries Van Tor, who brought it home, and Charles Weerts, who started off. And then, of course, a pat on the back for Team WRT for yet another fantastic pit stop. So plenty to be celebrated down there. And John, good, clean racing, thoroughly enjoyable to watch.
Indeed it was, and I mean, just listening to Christopher Haase, he clearly, we could see he was struggling, and he knew that the pace that the Mercedes behind had, it was not if but when the overtake was going to occur. There we see Vincent Vos having a word with Raffaele Marciello. I mean, Vincent Vos knows that 89 Mercedes, if they have a pit stop to match what WRT did, they've got a fight on their hands. And, you know, the pace that Marciello had all the way through, setting fastest laps upon fastest laps. He was running down Dries. There, I've got understeer. You could see his hands. The front was pushing. Not as bad as Christopher Haase's Audi, but still, he was the core characteristic maybe of the Audi in this race at this time of evening. Maybe wasn't the balance as direct or maybe as sharp as we saw with the Mercedes and Marcello.
So just waiting for the third place drivers to be called up. Simon Gachet, who kicked it off, and Christopher Haase, who brought it home. The German driver following out there to the third step on the podium. But as they said, it's about progression for the new team. Tracer by Car Collection. So steps very much in the right direction. And second place, Timo Bogoslawski, and the driver who brought it home, who chased down but couldn't quite catch Dries van Toor. It's the taller figure of Raffaele Marcello. So for the team with the new name for 2022, a Codis ASP team with their Mercedes, more valuable points. But I think that race win just puts the nose in front in the Sprint Cup for Van Toor and Weerts. Yes, it does, by the smallest of margins. Second at Brands Hatch. But first place here in the opening one of the pair of races. This is the evening race at Magny Cours. It's been a full day. It's been a fun day.
And it's a nice way to go into the evening knowing that you've scored a victory. Now they've got to go out tomorrow morning, qualify in different temperatures, different circumstances. And look, anybody around these top three cars is vulnerable to those behind. And it's where you qualify that dictates where you're going to start the race. And that then can ultimately have a bearing on your outcome. So the importance of qualifying, you can't state highly enough.
Absolutely. Now, there is space to make manoeuvres, but always your advantage is to start at the very front. We worried that Simon Gachet had made a jump start, but again, it was the long angle we were looking at, and it was very good of Charles Weerts to admit he just was a little bit slow to react, and that's why he fell back from second to third, and then had to fight so hard to get back to second.
I mean, I don't know whether he was slow to react or he was caught out maybe by the lights going green earlier than he had anticipated. Whichever way around it was, he lost that benefit of being in the front row of the grid and then dropped back into third place.
Again, it was quite hard for us to judge, because when you got that really foreshortening effect, a long shot from the background of Grand Cours. But either way, they still came away. The pole started with third place and the winner's national anthem. So as the Belgian national anthem rings out, it's always an opportunity when the cap comes off for the national anthem to see what colour Raffaele Marcello's hair is this particular weekend, and it seems to be a whitish grey this weekend, maybe silver. In fact, silver medal is what they picked up this evening.
I know the feeling.
So who else can challenge? I think we also ought to pick out the number 25, the Sansalok Audi. Was very impressive. Aurelien Panis and Patrick Niederhauser going from 7th to 4th. So there are other challengers. Those top two look pretty bulletproof. But of course, we get different qualifiers tomorrow. Now look how close it is on point. Charles Weerts and Dries van Toor, 1.5 points to the good. They came here 3 points behind Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marcello, but Wynn has put their nose in front. Ulysses Depot and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, they're Silver Cup runners, still holding down that third place, just ahead of the people on the move, Simon Gachet and Christopher Haase. They go away. We have more podiums to follow, but of course, we'll be showing you race highlights of the first 1 hour bash here at Magny Cours. But of course, tomorrow's race is a different time of the afternoon. It should be warmer, track temperatures should be higher, and it will be different. But right now, on the Saturday evening at Magny Cours, it's all about the drivers who took victory. Charles Weerts and Dries van Toor in the 32 Audi. And how did it all begin? With a brilliant start from pole position from Simon Gachet, and moving up into second place went Gilles Magnussen. Back into third went the 32 Audi of Charles Weerts. He was going to have to fight back, really very clean and tidy down at the front of the field. Little contact at the back of the field. That was Patrick Krupinski getting up close with Valentino Rossi, who had a penalty in the pit stop to serve as well, but he had to gain positions while he could. And then a little mistake from Gilles Magnussen, that allowed up to the Adelaide hairpin Charles Weerts to get alongside. He then moved in front back into second place where he'd started the race. Matthias Trudy, the number 12 Audi driver, really on a charge. And now Timo Bogoslawski fighting over 5th place with the AF Corsa Ferrari. And they came in 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th all at the same time for their pit stops. But the one that got in first of that group was also out first and stretched its advantage. It was the 32 Audi of Dries van Toor. That was brilliant work from the Belgian team. And it was going to have a effect on the race. And then as cars tried to rejoin, you could just see, unfortunately, not everybody had the grip out into the gravel. That was young Casper Stevenson. He still drove brilliantly, the 19-year-old, but that was 3 positions lost. He had been right at the sharp end of the field. And then Chris Froggatt trying to hang on, trying to grip, and again it seems the action magnet was the JP Motorsport McLaren, and in the final stage of the race, Christian Klein brought that forward, but it was that battling at the front. That was the best move of the race, I would suggest. Second place being grabbed at the Nürburgring S by Raffaele Marcello, but he was too far behind. He kept on closing down, but at the end, 3.1 seconds the good was Dries Van Tor. There is the second place, Marcello in the background, and third place, just coming into shot, was the car that started on pole, Christopher Haas taking it third. But look, for WRT, for Van Tor and Weerts, delight. So back to the land of the podiums after those incredibly exciting highlights. So the Marseillaise runs out, which is the right national anthem for Pierre-Alexandre Jean, but it was the Belgian drivers on the top set, but they're driving for a French team, and that is Nicolas Bière and Gilles Magnus. Drove really well. One little slip-up was all that cost them possibly even a top 3, maybe top 4 position, but 6th overall to win the Silver Cup, just ahead of the 7th place Ferrari of Pierre-Alexandre Jean, who drove so well, and his teammate Ulysses Dupont, and 3rd place in class going to the number 87 Mercedes crew from Acodis ASP, Thomas Drouet and young Casper Stevenson. All drove well and suggested great things to follow, and it's great to have the Silver Cup runners running so well. But you can see in points, Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysses Dupont comfortably in the lead of the class. They won both of the races for the Silver Cup at Brands Hatch. No wonder they're sitting on that points lead, but some exciting new talent, which is always so exciting when you've got a championship. And GT3 cars are not easy to race. It takes many years to really get the full hang of it, and they're up against some extremely experienced rivals. But these are the new faces on the block. And I was particularly impressed with Gilles Magnus, who got up into 2nd place at the start of the race. Qualified well, raced well, and I'm sure there is a great deal more to come from the Santelot Racing Audi duo. So getting to the end of the broadcast here, the first of 2 days at Magny Cours, action-packed days, John. I think we can sit back and enjoy all that we watched in that race.
Saturday's now concluded. Sunday's a brand new day, an opportunity for everybody. And what we've seen here this evening, no guarantee we'll have a repeat, because it'll be different circumstances, different conditions. Can't wait.
Absolutely can't wait. The pack will be reshuffled in one form or other, and the Pro-Am podium will follow. And the drivers who are going up, 3rd place is the number 21 crew. That's the AF Corsa Ferrari, Hugo Delacour and Cedric Spirazzuoli. The 2nd place crew that will go up, the 111 JP Motorsport McLaren crew, Patrick Kropinski and Christian Klein. And the drivers who will head to the top step of the podium will be the 188 crew. It will be the Garage 59 drivers, their McLaren drivers, Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald. And that is the end of the Saturday broadcast. So those are the Pro-Am top 3. Well done, gentlemen. Out.